All right, Brad, we'll start with you. Just give me your opening thoughts on today's 59-10 win over Millikin.
Yeah, really happy again with how the guys finished the game. Another really solid second half. Defense let up any points in the second half again. So happy about that. Thought we started a little bit slow. Had some turnovers that we need to clean up, but the defense was working through some adversity with injuries, and fortunately, I think those guys will all get back. But had to pop some new guys in there, and they did a nice job of adjusting. And on offense, guys did a really good job throwing the football. I thought that opened up the run game quite a bit. I mean, we were pretty balanced, over 300 yards, rushing and passing. So they both complemented each other well. Obviously, Garret and Skokes here had a great game, connected 5 times, which is pretty special. I told the guys after the game, school records are hard to come by. So when you can get them, it's a special thing. Celebrate it. Like every other week, got to go about watching the film and cleaning a few things up. And just make sure that we're making progress, every single week.
Brad, I guess to start on your guys' side of things, you and your family in particular are as familiar with wide receiving records at North Central as anybody is. So, for you as a coach to watch Thomas have the night he had tonight, what does that mean to you on a personal level, given, these are records that you once held and that you saw your brother take, and now you're seeing other people build on them?
Yeah, I've found that, the records, it's a lot of fun to coach guys who break those records. Just because you take joy in them having success, you take joy in them celebrating with their teammates. And frankly, once you're old like me, you forget what records you had. And these guys are so much more talented than we, at least I ever was, maybe not my brother. But just fun to see him be able to do it and have success. I think as a head coach, that's what you want for everybody in your program, top down, is coaches and players and the administrative folks to be successful at what they do. It's not easy to do. I mean, that's really hard as a receiver. Having played the position, it's hard to capitalize on whatever targets you get and get into the end zone that many times. Tommy obviously is very good after the catch, and he did a great job closing out on some footballs. And Garret, threw it to space. So just great to see him have success.
On a similar note, first 6 touchdown passing game we see in 6 years for North Central. Meanwhile, your leading rusher is also a quarterback, but a different quarterback. What does it say about where those guys, Garret and Demir, have progressed to in this season, that you're in a position where those are the stat lines we're seeing 5 games in, those guys leading in the 2 separate categories?
Yeah, certainly, what we're going for. That's why they're both on the football field and playing, is they bring some skill sets that should make it hard for a defense. So it's great to see them showcase that and have success. We talk every week that you want to be the best version of yourself for that week that you can be. So being 5 weeks in, you're at a point in the season where you want to be seeing improvement. You want to see guys having success. And so to build off last week, I think is really good. Doesn't mean there's not things to clean up. There are. But I think if you can even if you have multiple receivers that have, let's say, 100-yard games, or multiple running backs have 100-yard games, which we've had that before. Ethan and Terrence were both all-conference running backs in 2022. So if you can have people from the same position that are showing they can bring different things to the table, or the same things just in different ways, it makes it hard for a defense. So it's great to see that, and credit to our offensive line. That's the spot where we've replaced, so many starters, and they're doing a really good job of just chipping away and getting better every single week. You can include the tight end and running backs in that. They're all, new starters. Maybe not new faces, but new starters. So it's great to see, and encouraged by the improvement that we're seeing.
And then before I get to all these guys, do want to ask you about Millikin, because this felt a lot like the Carthage game, where if you look at the stats on paper, it's like, oh, that's just another North Central won a big game. But the eye test tells you that this is a team that's different, headed in the right direction. Thought Silas Gomez was really impressive at quarterback for them. What did you see out of this squad? And they're in a first year under a new coach. What do you think stood out to them about where they're at right now as a program, as a potentially upwardly mobile team in the CCIW?
Yeah, they started the year 2-0, and I think that was the first time that they'd won game 1 since 2019, maybe. So you have to hand it to that coaching staff for getting guys playing hard, getting some players in there. They have a number of transfers on their roster. So when I look at it, I really look at what are we doing or not doing. It's really not about them. I look at how are we doing for where we should be against this opponent. You could look at the score and say, hey, it's a tighter score than it was last year. They're making progress. But I think we're going to look at it and go, well, we had 2 fumbles. We let up we had a personal foul that gave them an extra drive, then they scored. We let up some 3rd and longs. That's how we're going to look at it. But yeah, I would give their coaching staff credit, driving up here and playing a tighter game than what they've played in the past. But in the games on film, we saw them having success on offense. Their defense came in as one of the tougher pass defenses in the country statistically. So it was great to see these guys have success in that way.
Yep. We'll just go down the table here. Thomas, obviously, obviously having records is great, but I know you guys talk about being a team so much. I guess in the context of the North Central culture, your name being in a place where you're up there with Brad and his brother, and you're on lists right next to Andrew Kaminsky, D'Angelo Hardy, these guys who I know you learned from. What does it mean for you to be at a point in your career where you're having performances similar to what you watched those guys have?
It's obviously exciting. 2 years ago I was playing scout team, so I never really thought I'd be here, but when you have like the offense that we have and the receivers that we have, it's kind of puts me in positions to make plays way more often. Just because I think if you put Rummel or Miles or Grant or Jalen, any of them at the position I was in, I think they make the same plays. And I think that just shows tribute to our offense and how we can attack.
And thinking about this game, when you almost get that 4th in the first half, and you get tripped up at the 2, and then they punch it in. What's going through your mind when the play calls come in, both for that one where you run the post to the corner, and then the little shovel pass that ends up being number 5?
Honestly, going to halftime, I was a little upset with myself because I caught a curl route and turned the wrong way, so I was a little upset going into half. But yeah, like I said, those were both from like the 1 or 2 yard line, so it's just our team setting me up and let me get in the end zone. They did all the work, and I kind of just got the glory for it, honestly. So tribute to my team, honestly.
Maverick, you, Eli, and JP all get 1 sack on the night. This comes a week after you watch Bobby get 3. We haven't had a chance to hear from you yet this season. Just what's been your experience as a first-year guy in this program, and how well your D-line group has succeeded so far this season?
When we started fall camp, we were set out to try and be the best defensive line in the history of the school. We knew we had the ability to, and we're still working towards that. It's not there yet, but us 4 up front is a very, very formidable defensive front. And I'm just happy to be a part of it.
When you guys talk about ways you still want to improve, what are you guys looking at? What are the things that you guys feel like as a group you could do maybe just that little bit better?
You can never play physical enough. You can never play fast enough. You can always improve on it. And we really want to do that. We want to keep getting after the quarterback. We want to be more gap sound. We want to just improve on everything. We're good in a lot of fronts, but at the end of the day, you can never be too good. So.
And then Garrett, 6 passing touchdowns tonight, 4th guy ever to do that in the history of North Central football, which is obviously pretty illustrious to this point. I guess what's kind of your reflection tonight in the game you had? And in particular, you got to watch Thomas do a whole lot of running after the catch in particular, but just, what were you seeing out there, and why do you think tonight was a night where you and the offense were able to have so much success?
Nights like these are fun to have. Credit to the O-line and the receivers. I wouldn't be able to do any of it without them. I always tell the receivers, do something cool tonight. And Skokes did at least 5 things cool tonight. It's just fun night in general. But yeah, just the summer and then just fall camp and these 3 or 4 weeks leading up to this game is just getting better connection and hopefully to build upon that later in the season.
We saw a few times tonight where you get through the progression and there's nothing quite there yet, and then the offensive line's bought you some time, and then we see you do this kind of 2 or 3 step back pedal and we saw obviously for the first touchdown is one of these plays where Thomas breaks his route off, comes back to the ball. How do you describe the relationship you already have with this receiving core? That there are situations where the offensive line's bought you time, you buy yourself more time, and then you're going to be able to go out and find whoever it's going to be.
Yeah, it's just nice knowing that you're gonna have guys that are always trying to get open, and so again, that kind of goes back to doing something cool. Just being able to, they kind of know my clock, and the time that I have back there, and so they know that when I'm kind of shuffling around, they know, okay, go get open and go find the ball. And so I know on the touchdown to Skokes, when I kind of shuffled a couple times to the left, and then he kind of came back across the field to our sideline. That was really just seeing Skokes, seeing him run to the sideline, and knowing that he was going to go get it. So, yeah.
And then just in general, how much fun do you have on plays like that where you've done your part, the pass is completed, and you just get to stand back there and watch your guys go to work?
Yeah, it's awesome. I'd say I probably have one of the best views of seeing our guys make guys miss and go in the end zone. And then right after that, it's go and find the O-line. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be able to do it. So just going to celebrate with those guys is the best time of the night. So.